Hello, everyone. Welcome to the information session for the Jadin Wong Fellowship in Dance and Choreography. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lisa Gold, A4's Executive Director, and a quick accessibility check. I am a Hapa, half Korean, half white woman with shoulder length, straight, dark hair, wearing a black dress with embroidered flowers, zooming in from the unceded lands of the Munsee Lenape peoples. For those of you who are familiar with A4, you know that we're dedicated to ensuring greater representation, equity, and opportunities for Asian American artists and cultural organizations. And the Jadin Wong Fellowship is one of our longstanding programs that provides resources and opportunities to foster the development of AAPI creators. This fellowship is named after Jadin Wong, who was really an incredible, badass singer, dancer, actress, and later in life, she was an agent and a manager representing AAPI luminaries, including David Henry Wong, Lou Diamond Phillips, and Lucy Liu. And in 1979, Jadin Wong Management co-hosted the first non-traditional casting symposium, Read BIPOC, at the Schubert Theater, which drew participants and theater owners and union members from across the performing arts field, and had guest speakers such as Paul Robeson Jr. and Harry Belafonte. And it featured AAPI artists performing in non-traditional roles. So all you Broadway Asians, you have Jadin Wong to thank. So before we start with the information session, I just want to make a few quick announcements. We are recording this session and we will post it later on our YouTube channel. We invite you to ask questions via the chat or the Q&A function as they arise, or at the end of the session. If you are, we'll do our best to answer the questions as they arise. So if this event is being closed captioned, so if you are interested in turning on your captions, you can click the CC icon at the bottom of your screen and enable the subtitles. And this session is also being we have incredible ASL interpreters, Jenna Williamson and Chris Inoue from Pro Bono ASL. So thank you for that. Okay, quick announcements. We are also accepting applications for the 2022 Van Leer Fellowship for Visual Art, which offers the same fellowship package as the Jadin Wong Fellowship, and it has the same deadline, Sunday, March 20th at midnight, actually 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So if you know of any AAPI visual artists, please share the opportunity with them. I believe the link is going to be dropped into the chat. There it is. And on Thursday, March 10th at 6:00 p.m. Eastern time, we're presenting a program called Artists Working in Community, Expanding Your Opportunities and Impact. And that's going to be led by Junli Wang from Springboard for the Arts. So if you're an artist who would like to begin or deepen your work with the community, then this workshop is for you. So registration information is going to be on our website shortly. So it's going to be a very fulfilling and interesting workshop. And then finally, we have a limited number of Lunar New Year benefit shirts celebrating the Year of the Tiger on sale. So this year's design, which is the second in a series, is by Sungmin On Studio. And t-shirts and hoodies are only available for a very limited time. So check them out via the link in the chat and order one so you can wear your AAPI Tiger Pride while supporting A4. Okay, just a few thanks. First of all, I'd like to thank the New York Community Trust for endowing this fellowship, and also acknowledge our other supporters at Capital One, Con Edison, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council, the New York State Council on the Arts with the support of Governor Kathy Hochul and the New York State Legislature, who, by the way, just announced a huge amount of money to support AAPI organizations. Thank you, Governor Hochul. The National Endowment for the Arts, the Howard Gilman Foundation, Fiskars, the Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Brothers Foundation, Tiger Foundation, and so many generous individuals for making all of our programs possible. And of course, I'd like to thank Priscilla Sun, our programs manager, for organizing this event. Okay, so before we get into it, I'm just going to do a quick land acknowledgement because before Zoom world, we would have been meeting in the A4 offices, which are located on the unceded lands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Canarsie peoples. But since we're meeting virtually, I would like to share a digital land acknowledgement written by Canadian theater artist Adrian Wong, as we're all occupying different spaces, physical spaces. Since our activities are shared digitally to the internet, let's also take a moment to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many Indigenous communities. Even the technologies that are central to much of the art that we make leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to changing climates that disproportionately affect Indigenous peoples worldwide. I invite you to join me in acknowledging all this, as well as our shared responsibility to make good of this time and for each of us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, brief agenda today. We'll talk about the context of the fellowship itself, who's eligible, application components. We'll go through the actual application. We will talk about the selection criteria, the timeline, and Q&A. Oh, I'm also meant to ask you, please introduce yourself in the chat so we know who's here. You can just drop your name and where you're zooming in from. That would be great. Okay. Context, our mission, I already shared that in the opening remarks. Hi, Gary. Okay, so the fellowship. The Jadin Wong Fellowship is for an emerging Asian American dancer, choreographer who seeks to make an impact on the Asian American community and for the development of new or existing work. Okay, so this was founded by the Jadin Wong Educational Fund, and her mission was to support Asian American artists who wanted to be in the arts to help build those pathways. So that's what we're doing here. And as part of that, the fellowship includes, it's an 8-month process. It includes $6,000 unrestricted cash. You can use it for anything you want. Career coaching, artistic mentorship, and presentation of your work. So that presentation, we'll talk a little bit about that, but that can take lots of different formats. Okay. All right, so the application is online by a jot form, and we will select the fellow through a panel review process. So very juried panel. The schedule of the fellowship, basically we start with career coaching and these dates, by the way, are a little bit flexible. It's not super rigid. The career coaching takes place May through July to help you kind of figure out what you want to do with this fellowship, how you want to orient your work, and set up a plan. Then the next stage is an artistic mentorship component, and we can either select the mentor for you, or you obviously, well, you can share with us somebody you would like to work with, and we can try to facilitate that. And then in the fall, winter, we will present some form of public program. And like I said, that can take many forms. It can be part of your work. It can be finished. It can be a work in progress. It can be a conversation. It can take many forms. Just like an FYI, I think it was 2 years ago, our fellow Rohan Bhargav talked about the fellowship and a work that he was creating but hospitality, the work was about hospitality. And he normally would have invited us into his studio and made a cup of chai and talked to us. But since we couldn't do that because of the pandemic, we sent chai making kits to everybody who RSVP'd for his event. He led us through the process of chai making as we had a conversation, and he showed us clips of his work. So that's just an example. Okay, eligibility. Who is eligible for this? Okay, just so you know, we don't set this criteria exactly. This is, a lot of these things are kind of established by requirements from the funder, the New York Community Trust. So the key words in terms of who is eligible is an emerging or early career artist, someone who is of Asian American descent, someone who is a dancer and choreographer, so creates and performs work, and someone who exhibits outstanding promise. Okay, so in terms of AAPI, so you must be of Asian heritage, and you can identify that however you choose. So we list here Central Asia, East Asia, Hawaii, Pacific Islands, the Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and multi-regional. And you can be mixed race too. You must be 30 years of age or younger as of the start date of the fellowship. So that means you have to be born on or after May 1st, 1991. You cannot be currently enrolled as a full-time or part-time student in a degree granting program during the fellowship period. If you are in a program that ends April 28th or 30th, that's completely fine. But you just cannot be in school during the fellowship. Next, you have to be a resident of one of the boroughs of New York City. That is a requirement by the New York Community Trust. So Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, Manhattan. And you must be living in the United States and primarily based in New York City during the fellowship period. We know that a lot of people during the pandemic have left and come back. But as part of this is to support New York artists and the artistic community. We want, ideally, people living in New York in one of the 5 boroughs during the fellowship. Okay. All right. Next, you must be, you must be a US citizen, a permanent resident, US resident alien, or non-resident alien with an ITIN. So we just have to have a method to pay you. That's all. So we're trying to be as open as possible, and we try to keep this criteria as broad as possible so that as many people as possible can participate. Okay, the application. All right, the application has 5 main components, a bunch of narrative questions, a letter of reference, your resume, your headshot, and work samples. So we'll talk about those. Okay, in the narrative questions, the first one is an artistic statement, which will help the panelists understand your work and a little bit about you. So describe your unique artistic approach to performance and choreography, what makes your work special. A statement, very brief. This is an optional question. A statement describing the influences, legacies, and/or heritages in your artistic work. So you can just, if you are, for example, interested or influenced by, Catholic dance or anything, if it's a contemporary adaptation of something, feel free to share that. Like I said, it's not necessary, but anything that can provide additional insight for the reviewers is helpful. Okay, next is professional growth. So we want to make sure this is going to benefit the recipient of the fellowship. So we would like to know where you are currently in your professional and artistic career. And yeah, just share with us where you are and where you're going. So if you have specific goals or things that you would like to attain, and how you think this fellowship is going to help you get there, share that, because we want this to make a difference. And then we would like a statement describing the work. Either it could be an existing body of work that you have been creating, or it can be a new body of work, or a new piece that you would like to develop during the fellowship. So just tell us what that is. Okay, the next part is community impact. So an important part of this fellowship is how you plan or hope to impact the AAPI community through your work. Jadin was a big believer in giving back. And so this portion of the application pays homage to Jadin's impact of paying it forward and helping people. Next, fellowship benefits, a statement on how you plan to use the cash grant. It can be anything. And honestly, you can use it to pay your rent. You can use it to take a, I don't know, you can use it for anything. It doesn't exactly have to be for this work, but obviously we want to know that it's helping you to be the artist that you want to be. So however you choose to use that is fine. Next is, okay, the other components are a letter of reference, a resume, and a headshot. The letter of reference can be from somebody who is familiar with your work. It is not the most prestigious name that you can get. It is somebody who can speak on behalf of you and the quality of your work and you as an individual artist. So that's the key component. Your resume and a current headshot that we have rights to reproduce. Should you be selected, we will be using that in promotional materials. So that is that. Okay, work samples. These are really very, very important. We are requesting 3 samples, recent samples, so relatively recent, within the past 4 years, demonstrating your best performance and choreography. So 1 performance sample, 1 choreography sample, and then 1 of your choosing. So these, the performance sample, this can be shot in, in a studio. It doesn't have to be, on a theatrical stage, doesn't have to be in a professional setting, but just something that the reviewing panel can get a sense of your work. So each sample should be no more than 4 minutes in length. And if you do send us a longer sample, just indicate the timestamp range that you want people to view. And if it's shorter than 4 minutes, that's fine. You can just write complete in the time marker box. We'll go through that later, the application. Very, very important. If you can avoid password protecting your samples, that's great. If you cannot, be sure to include a passcode. We want the reviewers to be able to see your work, so remember that. And if you are showing a work in which you are performing as part of a company or a group, make sure we know which one you are and how we can identify you in that performance clip. Okay, very important. Okay, so this is what the application looks like. It's on JotForm, as I stated earlier. You should probably either save your work as you go, because I do not believe that the application automatically saves. And also it might just be easier to answer the questions in a separate document, save them, and then paste them in when you're done. So this is what it looks like. We've gone through pretty much all of these questions. I think all of the mandatory questions or required questions are marked with a red asterisk. Next, this is how you will upload your video clips. Oh, sorry, your headshot and resume and your letter. So those can be a Word or a PDF format. And then the narrative questions, as we said. So it will, as you type, it will show you the word count. So if you go over the word count, you will have to go back and edit. Okay, next. Okay, so these are where you upload each of your samples, include the passcode if necessary. Again, if it's an ensemble piece, let us know how to identify you. And then just let us know, why did you select this work? What do you want people to see in this work? Okay, so that's the link to submit online. Remember, the deadline is just before midnight, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, March 20th. Please don't wait until the last minute. Okay. All right. The selection criteria. Okay, so the applications will be evaluated based on the artistic merit. Do you clearly demonstrate the technical skill in your method of dance? Do the samples demonstrate a high level of performance or expression? Lighting is very important. The higher quality, the better. We understand not everybody has access to a videographer who can do like super high resolution, but the better we can see you and your work and your movements, obviously, the better it is for the panelists to evaluate the work. And then does the applicant demonstrate a clarity of vision to their approach of dance that is reflected in the narrative or work samples or proposed projects? So we want to make sure that what you're saying matches what you're doing, or comes close anyway. So what you are getting at with your work. And then again, reflecting back on the merit, is this unique or creative? Does the development of the work, is this going to play a crucial step in the evolution of your career? Community impact. How do you hope to impact the Asian American arts community as a whole? And do you have experience? Have you demonstrated promise or prior leadership? Have you led a dance company? Have you offered roles to other AAPI artists in your company, or things like that? However you choose to demonstrate that you're looking to support the community as an artist, that's helpful. And then again, potential for growth. Why is this award meaningful to you? How is it going to help you fulfill your goals? And are you willing to do the work, to commit to meeting with the artistic mentor and the career coach to further your career? So those are the selection criteria. And let's see, next. So we have a few tips based on feedback from the panelists last year. So we tried to make this easier or clearer. So the tips: review all eligibility criteria. Make sure, first of all, that you meet the qualifying factors. Try to be as clear and concise as possible. Just use simple, clear language. You don't have to write an MFA thesis or, art language. You can use your own voice. That's probably more important. and write with confidence, like I am a dancer choreographer who, so that's helpful, just so we know, again, who you are and what you're about. The holistic application, I think I touched on that previously. So making sure that the work that you're doing aligns with the work that you would like to do in the future, and the work samples you've provided. If you are looking to branch out and try something new, that's totally fine. And just make sure that that's clearly articulated in your application questions, okay? So if you're like new and interested in experimentation, or you want to break out of something, that's fine, because your samples may not demonstrate that. But as long as you make that clear in your narrative, then that's fine. The work samples, as I said, they're very, very important. I know it's hard for people to get a sense of your entire output in 3-4 minute videos, but you'll have to do the best that you can here. So please try to select work samples that best reflect your artistic vision, and show that you have the capacity to execute the project. That you have the skill level, that you have the wherewithal. Just try to send us as good quality video as possible. And music videos may be less effective. So the sound isn't as important as the video. So just remember that. Okay, next, timeline. So let's see, the timeline is, okay, so key dates here, March 8th. So we are offering one-on-one office hours. So if you want us to give you feedback on your application or answer specific questions, you can sign up for a 20-minute session with Priscilla. If you want her to review your application and give you specific feedback on your application, you must send it in advance, no later than Friday, May 4th, and then also set up an appointment on March 8th. Okay, and then we'll go through that with you. Again, submissions close 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on March 20th. It's a Sunday. Then we will collect all of the applications, review them, hold our panels, and then on April 29th, we will notify the selected fellow, followed by a public announcement on May 4th. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can email me or Priscilla with the subject line Jadin Wong question. If you have any questions right now, you can pop it into the Q&A, as I see Gowrie did, which the question is, do we have to pick one style or can it be multiple styles? It can be multiple styles. If that is what your practice is about, then the samples can reflect that, and certainly the narrative can reflect that. So again, that's important to be able to give people a fuller idea of who you are as a dancer and choreographer. Sure. Anybody else have questions? Again, you can drop it in the chat or put it in the Q&A. Okay, Ishita asks, for work submissions, do you prefer one-take recordings or dance film that might have more cuts? I think whatever best shows off your performance capacity, your skills, your choreography skills, whatever highlights you and your work in the best manner. I don't know that there's a specific preference for that. So just again, so that the panelists, the reviewers can get a sense of your practice through the video. Okay. So no other questions. Okay. I'll give it one more time. If you want to just click on raise hand in case you have a question and are trying to type it out. And if not, I'm just gonna make sure everybody knows about one more. Oh, sorry, there's two people with raised hands. So Gary, do you have another question, or was that? If you have another question, you can drop it into the chat, or Priscilla can let you ask it out loud. Do you want to share your question? Yeah, you can just unmute yourself and ask your question. Gary?
Hi, Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I had a quick question about like how many attempts you can take to apply to the fellowship. Like say I apply this time and I don't get it and you guys give me feedback and I apply next time, would it sort of affect my chances next time if you see that, oh, I applied previously and I didn't get it? Or should I just wait a year till my work is like fully developed and then apply?
No, you can apply as frequently as you want. We have a different panel every year. And so like, they will, you know, humans are humans and they will have like different takes on your work. However, we try to make the evaluation criteria as clear as possible. Like I said, we tried to clear that up a little bit this year to make it, you know, fairer and clearer for the fellows as well as the reviewers.
Understood. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so if there are no more questions, oh, like I said, I just wanted to share one more opportunity, which is the Creatives Rebuild New York. This is basically, this is a huge undertaking to offer guaranteed income to artists for 2 years. You can be in partnership with a nonprofit organization or to be employed. They have an artist employment program, or you can apply for basic minimum income of, I forget what it is. I think it's like $1,000 a month. It's just straight cash. So Anjor has dropped the link in the chat box. If you have any questions about that, I know that Flushing Town Hall is going to be holding an information session on March 8th. So you can find out more about that on our website. So I will give you all back 25 minutes of your day. And if you have any other questions, like I said, please feel free to email me or Priscilla. All right, thank you again, Pro Bono ASL, and all of you incredible artists. I wish you all the best. Have a great day.